Arise, Mr. Andrew Mountbatten, hyphen, Windsor. Yes, today, Tuesday, November the 11th, the news is that Prince Andrew, ex-Prince Andrew, forgive me, that ex-Prince Andrew is to face a fresh humiliation. He is to be required to insert a hyphen between his last names of Mountbatten and Windsor. This news was, I have to say, didn't come as a huge surprise to me because I thought it was slightly odd in the first place when they said that his name was going to be Mountbatten no hyphen Windsor, because the royal surname is Mountbatten hyphen Windsor. We saw it when Prince Archie was born. He was called Prince Archie Harrison Mountbatten hyphen Windsor. And whenever the royals are required to sort of use a first name, which is not very often, they do tend to hyphenate the Mountbatten Windsor. The history of it is quite interesting. It goes back to a declaration. Well, so Prince Philip often complained that he wasn't allowed to give his own last name, which was Mountbatten, although actually, of course, Prince Philip's real surname was Battenberg, but they anglicised it to Mountbatten to avoid perceptions of disloyalty during the Second World War. Prince Andrew, therefore, his surname that he was born with is Mountbatten-Windsor, but it didn't go on his birth certificate. On his birth certificate, he would have just been Prince Andrew, which wouldn't have required any form of surname. Now, of course, having been stripped of his princely title, a surname is required. And apparently, when the statement was made 10 weeks ago, saying that he was going to be called Mountbatten no hyphen Windsor, that was his preference. Well, it seems that another fresh humiliation has now been heaped upon Andrew, because the hyphen is to be restored to his name, whether he likes it or not. Palace insiders making clear. It goes back to a notice that Queen Elizabeth II published in the London Gazette, oddly enough 2 weeks before Andrew's birth, which read, "Now therefore I declare my will and pleasure that while I and my children shall continue to be styled and known as the house and family of Windsor, my descendants, other than descendants enjoying the style, title, or attribute of Royal Highness and titular dignity of Prince or Princess, and female descendants who marry and their descendants, shall bear the name of Mountbatten-Windsor." So it was done at the time to placate Prince Philip, who apparently famously complained that he was the only man in the country not allowed to give his name to his children, which made him nothing but a bloody amoeba. So how about that? So that is the Prince Andrew news of today. I actually think there's a bit more to this story than just a hyphen in a surname. I think it's about the royal family trying to show who's boss, because there are plenty of indications that Andrew is pushing back a bit and trying to, as was famously noted before, rearrange the furniture over the deal that he has struck with his brother, the king, and with Prince William about the terms of his departure from the royal family. Now, as we know, originally it was said that he would move to the Sandringham estate. That was a very vague term. And I was told at the time that Andrew had potentially pushed to be allowed into Anmer Hall, which of course is William and Kate's home on the Sandringham estate, and that he had lobbied to be allowed Anmer Hall. Now, that, I'm told, as you can imagine, went down like a lead balloon with William and Kate. But there are signs that he is not going to accept simply being pushed into the first cottage that can be made available with a new IKEA kitchen installed for him. And there are also signs that he is demanding staffing, which again, I have reported and is now starting to appear in some other news reports about Andrew and about his future. There was also a very interesting story in The Sun this weekend about the current mood at Royal Lodge, where Andrew he's basically holed up there with his wife, Sarah Ferguson, his ex-wife, Sarah Ferguson, sorry, the ex-prince and his ex-wife, the ex-duke and the ex-duchess. If I make that mistake again, please just do me a favor and give me the poetic license to make the mistake. We know what I mean. He is no longer a prince. He is no longer a duke, but he is very much still in residence at Royal Lodge. And the question of when he's actually going to move has become slightly more elastic when you talk to people over the last few days. Now, initially, the implication was that this was all going to happen very quickly, that the king wanted it tidied up and quickly put to bed. The next iteration was that he wouldn't move till after Christmas because this would save the family the embarrassment of not having him to Christmas lunch while he was on the estate. Now, no one seems to be able to give me a timeline at all. All that I can discover is that Andrew is increasingly making demands about what he wants. And he's not prepared to just accept being shoved into the first cottage that they can find. He does still want a nice, grand home, and he does still want staff. And I am told that he is going to be getting a cook, a housekeeper and a gardener at a bare minimum. He is also going to keep his police security, which I think will be a major source of irritation to Prince Harry, who, of course, was stripped of his security when he left the royal family. And Andrew has not just left the royal family, he's been kicked out of the royal family. But Andrew is going to keep his automatic police security, which will I think, very much annoy Harry. And the signs are that he is hanging on to Royal Lodge now, squatting slightly at Royal Lodge. Sarah has apparently set up a bar at one end of Royal Lodge, which is called the Doghouse, where, according to The Sun, she has a few drinks of an evening and pours out her heart to her staff. Sarah is spending quite a lot of evenings in the Doghouse, which is a purpose-built bar behind Royal Lodge in Windsor Great Park. She drinks in there with friends and staff to escape from what is going on in her life generally. And while she is there, she takes advice on what to do next. So, of course, the question of where Sarah is going to live is another whole issue in this extraordinary tale that has not really been resolved yet. My understanding is that she's going to be based in London, probably spending quite a bit of time abroad, but we'll have to wait and see. I am told that the dogs are going to be based with Andrew. I know my readers and watchers and listeners are very concerned about the fate of Sandy and Muck, the little corgis that were inherited from the Queen. I am told that the dogs are going to stay with Andrew at Sandringham. I think what is pretty clear from everyone you speak to is that Andrew and Sarah are not in a very good mental shape. Andrew has basically had everything removed from him, that all of the dignity, all of the status symbols that made him, that was so important to his own sense of who he was. I've even been told by friends of William's and friends of Harry's that they are very concerned that he could do something stupid, that he could harm himself, that something bad could happen. I was quite interested to read in The Sun this weekend again in this piece about how the couple are kind of padding around Royal House, with Andrew apparently ranting into thin air at nobody. I was quite interested to read that they said that Sarah is not in a good way at the moment, that her daughters are extremely worried about her and making sure they stay in touch, that her older sister Jane has been over from Australia recently, and that was in part to give Sarah moral support. Sarah still thinks Andrew is a good person and will always support him, but she knows her future is away from him. So that is very interesting. One thing I am hearing is that Andrew is to be allowed to host a couple of shooting weekends. And of course, the shooting season is now well underway in the United Kingdom. I have to say, nobody that I know has seen Andrew out shooting yet, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he hasn't been. But as far as we can tell, I am not sure that he has actually left Royal Lodge yet. But the king deciding to allow him to keep his shooting privileges on the royal estates, I think will be I think it'll be seen as a humane decision by the king. I think when everything else was still in place, there was perhaps a case to say that he shouldn't be allowed to host these weekends. And I think that, lots of people have said to me before, will people still really want to go? I think it is a bit different now that he is no longer a prince, that he's been so publicly expelled from the family, that the king has so publicly set himself against him and basically said that he didn't believe his story about Virginia Giuffre or about his involvement with Epstein. I think it is a little bit different now that the king has essentially come out and said that he does not believe Andrew about his denials of his accounts with Epstein, and that and all of Andrew's titles have been taken away. And remember, this is a totally unprecedented thing. I mean, this has never happened to a member of the royal family, with some exceptions in the First World War of some German family members who, had actually fought for the Kaiser, which is a very different thing. So we're slightly in untested waters here. It's certainly unprecedented waters, and that word, of course, is used a lot in royal reporting, usually inaccurately, but in this case, it is very accurate. Like, what has been done to Andrew is completely unprecedented. And I think it is actually, funnily enough, slightly changing the mood amongst his social set. I don't know if they have been. Well, I will correct myself there. I am told that they have not been as supportive as they have been in previous years of this long-running scandal, where people were frankly able to brush it off. It's hard to brush it off now. I think it will be very interesting to see who turns up to Andrew's shooting weekend, which I'm told is going ahead in January. I think it'll be very interesting to see if his brother, Prince Edward, turns up as he has in previous years and shows a bit of support for his brother or not. And I think it'd be interesting to see which of Andrew's friends turn up. This whole business about the hyphen might seem to be a sort of huge distraction, but I think for most of us, if we really think about the impact of not being able to choose our own name, it is a kind of extraordinary situation for a grown adult human to find themselves in, that they have to be told what their name is by the king. I don't think it's about whether or not there is a hyphen or isn't a hyphen. In the old days, funnily enough, it used to be a bit posher to have a hyphen than not have a hyphen. But I'm not sure that that's really what this is about. Like, the hyphen or the no hyphen is not a delineator of Andrew's status, but the fact that he's not allowed to choose it, that it's being imposed on him, that he is being told you have to accept a hyphen in your name. I just think it's incredibly demeaning for him. I'm not particularly sympathetic towards Andrew, but I do wonder whether the king, look, he's had his success, he's taken everything from Andrew. Is it rather kicking the man when he's very much down to insist that he rewrite his surname? I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, it feels like a bit of a power play from the palace. And I think it is connected to the fact that Andrew is taking so long to get his stuff together, to get out of Royal Lodge, to move. The king's point of view was always that Andrew was going to have to leave Royal Lodge, and it could be done gracefully or it could be done not gracefully. The feeling now is that Andrew has obviously brought this to a situation where it is being done not gracefully, it is being forced on him. The idea once upon a time was that he could have had Frogmore Cottage in Windsor Great Park. I'm sure if Andrew could wind back the clock, he would probably accept Frogmore Cottage. As is always the case with things like this, once something is taken away, it suddenly looks a bit more attractive, doesn't it? So I think, however, that Sandringham is a much better solution for Andrew and for the royal family. He'll be out of the way. Photographers, they'll go up there for a bit, but in the end, they won't be bothered to be hauling their 100, 200 miles from London to get a photo of Andrew riding a horse. And I think it will enable him to have more freedom to be able to go out and do stuff, go for a walk, go shooting, ride his horse, walk his dogs, those kinds of things. So I think it is the right decision, but I think it's been completely forced on Andrew. And I think the fact that he's taking so long to get out of Royal Lodge is going to become an issue. If he's still there in the new year, I think it definitely is going to become an issue. Now, there's one other story that I want to briefly mention today. Today, the 11th of November, is Remembrance Day in the United Kingdom. And we saw Princess Catherine, the Princess of Wales, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, to use her correct title, laying a wreath at the National Service of Remembrance, at the Arboretum, which is the big kind of focal point. But it was notable that William was not by her side. This, it's fair to say, has not gone down particularly well amongst some of the more traditional members of the King's Circle. William gave an interview to Brazilian TV last week saying that he liked to do the school run and he liked to play with the children after school and he liked to be a present dad and all this kind of stuff. He did also talk about very movingly about how he told the kids about their mum's cancer, how they had told the kids about their mum's cancer. I think that today was a day actually to let the nanny do the school run and for William to show up alongside his wife at the National Memorial, at the National Service of Remembrance. William skipped the Albert Hall on Saturday night, the Festival of Remembrance. I thought that was a mistake. I said so at the time. Of course, he was on the way back from the Earthshot Prize in Brazil. I think he should have got an earlier flight, quite frankly. I think he should have got back in time for it. He was at the Cenotaph on Sunday, of course, alongside his father, the King. Very, very moving ceremony. But Remembrance Day is such an important day for the United Kingdom. It's one of the few things we're quite divided. The United Kingdom is quite a divided nation now. And I think that Remembrance Day is one of the things that really draws people together and brings people together. And I think it was a mistake for William not to be there. And I'm not sure what the reason is. I honestly suspect it's a domestic reason. And I don't know if that's a good enough reason for the future king not to attend the most important church service of the year for the country. So I was a bit confused about that. William is going to be around later this evening, Tuesday. Perhaps by the time this goes out, you'll have already seen pictures of him greeting veterans at Windsor Castle alongside his father, the King. That, of course, is good and all well and good. But I do think that having made such a fuss about in the year past about Harry not being able to lay a wreath and sort of complaining about Harry overshadowing him with his tour of Canada and all of that, I do think it would have behoved William to actually show up for today's service. Look, I understand he wants to make it clear that he thinks that raising balanced kids is important. And I think the example of Prince Andrew makes it very clear why that is important. And I'm sure they've got their own problems and scheduling difficulties like any other busy couple. But I actually can't believe that a helper or a nanny or somebody of the staff could not be found to get them in today. And also one other thing, William recorded a video this morning for school children talking about remembrance. And it looks to me like it's the first glimpse inside Royal Lodge, inside Forest Lodge, not Royal Lodge, Forest Lodge, which is the new home that they have moved to. So you can't see much in the video, but nice looking, looks all very elegant. And I'm told that they've had the whole place completely redecorated, and it's absolutely lovely in their slightly maximalist style. So we shall see whether we get to see more pictures of Forest Lodge over the days and years to come. I suspect we probably won't. I think they're probably keen not to photograph the inside of the house, but it did just look to me, I'm not 100% sure, but it looked to me like today's footage of William was taken from inside their new forever home, as we are told, because we're told they're not going to be moving to Windsor Castle even when he becomes king. So thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Just a reminder, please, if you've enjoyed it, like it, share it, send it out, whatever, hype it, do all the bits and pieces. And if you're really keen, subscribe to my Substack, either as a free or indeed a paid subscriber. And thank you very much. And thank you for your lovely comments yesterday about the video I did yesterday, where I was banging my head against the wall at Princess Beatrice doing royal events again, which I find very, very strange that Princess Beatrice is doing royal events again. So thanks very much, guys. See you later. Bye.